SNAP stands for Simple Navigation for APS. APS is Microsoft's analytic platform system, a massive parallel processing system of multiple servers that gives you both relational database and access to Hadoop information. SNAPS is a set of tools that can help the DBA, the developer, and the analyst. The tool has multiple modules with more coming, but right now I just want to take a few minutes of your time to show you what life was like before SNAPS and what it's like with SNAPS for doing a very simple and very common task. Customers who have APS systems expect them to be fast, and if you're a DBA, it's not going to be surprising when emails start coming in saying that something's not running quick enough. And so I might just get a table name and the fact that things seem to be slow. The first thing I'm going to want to do is go in and check on that table and try and get some basic information. The Microsoft APS system does not work with SQL Server Management Studio. The tool we do use is Visual Studio with an add-in called SQL Server Data Tools. You can get the Visual Studio shell and the add-in downloaded for free. But what it's missing is a lot of graphical user interface. There's very few right context click to get at more information. There's view code. That's about it for this table. And what you're seeing in the background is 6 minutes of me working in Visual Studio condensed to about a minute and a half. And what I'm doing is trying to get some basic information. The APS system supports column store indexes, and it's very important how those indexes are doing. So what I did was went to Books Online, got a bunch of DMVs. I'm selecting information from them so I can try and see the status of my table as it relates to that. And along the way, of course, I make typos. I realize that some DMVs are more complex and need to be joined to other ones, but I can get some information. When I don't find what I need, the typical next step for me is to go and find some other code that I've used before or know from a source. In this case, I'm opening up some training material, going down, getting a chunk of metadata to help me see what's going on. But I was trying to find information about number of rows, how it's distributed across the multiple servers, how my column store is doing, just basic information so that I can troubleshoot and see if there's something obviously wrong with this table. The video you're seeing showed me spending about 6.5 minutes just to get some basic information about the table. Now we'll see how simple it is for a DBA to get a few answers about a table using the SNAPS tool. I'm going to come into the tool, I'm going to select my quick query, I'm going to connect to an APS system, I'm going to look into the navigation bar on the left here, find the database in the table that I'm interested in. I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to find my sales store order detail or sales order detail and hit this table property report. I can now see it's distributed, that it's a column store, I can see the distribution column and type, I can see the fact that there's no partitioning, and when I come down to column store, I can see that all the rows are sitting in open row groups, meaning that none of the data has been compressed. As a DBA, I now know what I need to do. If I had that problem in one table, maybe it's in many tables. I'm going into Info, I'm going to look at open row group analysis at the database level. I can see red lines are showing me records in open row groups. I can select the tables here and rebuild them. So I spent 6.5 minutes in Visual Studio getting some basic information and less than a minute in SNAPS to get my job done.